Hello friends, welcome to week 12's Q&As, joined by my lovely and helpful wife Lucy.
Hi guys.
If you're not subscribed to the channel, do subscribe and please like the video for the sake of the algorithm. Let's do the next question.
Alright, next question is by Christia Khan. She said, hi Leo, really enjoyed video on reading this week. Would you consider a similar video for studying in general? Thoughts on optimizing an environment to study duration, 30 minutes on, 10 minutes off, studying before bed ideal, and any general thoughts on the topics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you, Christina, for your question. We love getting your questions. So because you're not asking specifically about quantitative or qualitative studying, I'm going to make it a bit general. The first thing you want to do is interact with your material as much as you can. So the more you interact with it, the more depth you interact with the material, the more you remember. I'm thinking of this in terms of examinations, by the way. And I mentioned this in terms of reading, right? Remember I said annotate and do footnotes and stuff like that? Well, when you're studying, so for example, let's say you're reading say it's a qualitative test, and you're reading chapters in a textbook from school. You want to read your chapter, then you want to maybe read it again a second time, then you want to go take notes on it, then you want to summarize those notes into even shorter notes, and you want to reread those notes. The more the more stages you go through with this, the more you remember. Or say if it's a math thing, you may want to read the chapter. You may want to make notes on the chapter, like writing the exact steps that you do for solving the problem. And then you want to solve the problem various times in different ways. You want to find different kinds of problems. All of these things make the memory be stored better in your brain. But for memory storage, you need to review this material over days separated by sleep. So we know in non-REM sleep, in the portion of sleep that is non-REM, your brain consolidates memories. We know that in REM sleep, your brain then takes these memories and relates them to different parts of your brain. So there's very good reason to review material. This is why procrastinating is so horrible for studying. And I used to procrastinate a lot, and it always used to harm me. And I eventually stopped because I realized you need to study it. So you do all your material, you do your notes, you review your notes one day. Then what I like to do personally is review right before bed, because it really huge impact, and you'll dream sometimes about this stuff.
And I used to wake up and know the whole lesson with no problem, poetry, everything I need to learn.
Exactly.
I was reading it after bed.
And I mentioned this in the sleeping videos. I mentioned that so many scientists have discovered their ideas while they were sleeping from REM sleep, from the dream sleep. So this is because of this, because they have it really integrated into their brain. So you want to review it before you sleep, then you want to review it when you wake up, and do that before you sleep and when you wake up a few times. The more you review stuff, the better it consolidates in your brain, because really an examination is at the end a study of recall. What do you remember? Yeah. So, of course, if you're doing math, it's a lot of application. So you want to apply. If you're doing, like, for example, essays, or you're applying theories to different things, for example, in economics, again, you want to train those questions there. But another thing you want to do, she mentioned environment. You want to simulate your exam environment. Now, this depends how nerdy you are. If you're very nerdy, you may want to go do your practice tests in the same room that you're doing the test. This has a big impact. But you can also simulate this by doing the same kind of questions that your exam may have. So in some schools, you'll find exam questions from previous years. The closer it is to the exam, the better you're going to do. Now, and it depends on the kind of test you're doing. Like, for example, I've taken the GRE and the GMAT and the SAT and the CFA examination as a certified financial analyst. The CFA examination is quite a bit like this, but so is the GRE, GMAT, and SAT. These are not tests really of knowledge. Well, CFA is a bit of knowledge, but more than knowledge, they're tests of how you can take tests. The more you practice those tests, the exact kind of test, like in the CFA examination, we have the original book, the book from the company of former exam questions, like 10 years old, that they put there. And the GMAT, you have the original book tests, the questions also. You can get the real questions, not the ones done by Princeton Review and all those kind of things. And in CFA, not the ones done by Schweizer. You want to find the original ones. Those original questions, and you redo them and redo them. And if you have enough questions, they say, so you have 400 questions on a few chapters, by the time you get to the last question, you forgot the first question. So you can actually do the question more than once. The more times you do something, because an examination is about recall, the quicker you're going to respond. So it's about sleep and practice. That's really what it has to do with. And of course, you got to get your environment optimized, but the environment being optimized for this purpose is similar to the environment being optimized for reading, as I described before. You want a clean environment. Ideally, you want a room in the house that you only study in, or you only, maybe not even read, you only study. In my case, I had a room of studying, and now I have a room of working, but I read somewhere else. I don't read in that room. In that room, I do real work. Yeah. So my brain is very associated with that. Personally, I always used to take breaks about 50 minutes in, but at that time when I was much younger, I had things to do on those breaks. I don't know, maybe I would take longer time now, but I think 30 minutes is a bit too short. Now, there is, of course, cognitive psychology literature that says really you need quick breaks quite frequently. I think 50 minutes is sufficient. It depends how concentrated your brain is. It depends if you're manipulating your cholinergic system, if you're taking certain medications, what you're doing with your brain, how much you can focus.
Great.
All right. Thank you so much, Christina, for your question. We'll see you next time.